Endurance Junkie Podcast, episode 67. Hey Junkie, thanks for joining me on a new episode of the Endurance Junkie Podcast, the show where I will be interviewing some of the fastest, smartest and most inspiring people active in the endurance world today. Rachel Strait is a professional mountain biker who focuses solely on enduro racing. It's a perfect mix between cross-country riding and downhill mountain biking. She's a member of the GT Factory racing team and travels the globe racing the Enduro World Series. Hi Rachel, thanks for joining me today. Now, to get things going, can you tell us a bit about yourself, your sporting background growing up, and how you ended up in racing mountain bikes?
Okay. Hi guys, my name is Rachel Strait and I live out here in San Diego, California. I race enduro, mountain bike racing, but I actually started off racing cross country when I was pretty young. I was 10 years old, and I got into mountain biking through my father. He raced motocross for a long time and would do mountain biking as cross training like a lot of guys do. And then when he realized we were getting older as kids, he just didn't want us to get into, not bad things, but like watching television all the time. He wanted us outdoors. So when I was 7, I got my first mountain bike actually. And then we just started riding and did my first race in 1999. I was 10 years old. It was in Big Bear, California, and it went really well. And then I didn't really stop until I was 18 when I got accepted to college, and then I just kind of took a break and did cross-country running in college and collegiate road racing. So I just was kind of over mountain biking then. But yeah, that's kind of how I got into it, and then I got into actual enduro racing when I was 23. I got a job at a company called Crank Brothers. They make pedals, wheels, and stuff like that. When I was just out of college, I moved up there. And I don't know if you guys have ever been to Laguna Beach, but the mountain bike riding is amazing. I know it's always about the beach and the nice cars, but the bike riding is so steep and gnarly. And that's when I was like, why have I been riding a cross-country bike my whole life? So, yeah.
Okay, so you stopped riding when you were at college. What made you pick up your bike again after 5 years? And had you lost any fitness or any skills in that meantime?
No, yeah, I lost more skill, I would say, because I was running, and then I ran for 3 years in cross-country in college. And I unfortunately got an injury. So I just kept getting stress fractures from running, and it wasn't good. So then, oh no, sorry.
Bless you.
Sorry. So I kept getting stress fractures, and it just wasn't worth it. I was like, why am I doing this to my body? So I picked up a road bike, and I started road riding. That was really fun, actually. It was so different, and yeah, and then I was 21 years old, and I got hit on my road bike by a drunk driver, actually, one day. And then I couldn't do anything for 7 months because he fractured my my lower vertebrae in my back when he hit me. So that's when I lost everything at that point. And so I found that my body doesn't like not working out because it just gets really, really, really skinny. And so I was at the skinniest point of my life, and then I got that job at Crank Brothers, so I started riding again, and then it just got better.
Okay. Now you obviously had a couple of months of recovery after that crash, but afterwards, can you tell us a bit about your progression in the sport to from when you started riding with the people at Crank Brothers to the level where you are right now?
Oh yeah. So when I started riding in Laguna, I was so blessed to be able to go out with the engineers at Crank Brothers, and they were all amazing mountain bike riders, and they would test the product all the time. So they were constantly always riding. And so they were pretty nice, and they said, "Hey, do you want to come ride with us?" And I was not good at first. Like, looking back on where I've came and looking back at where I've came in the last, what is it now, 5 years? It's pretty cool. So I just started pushing myself in that kind of direction and not having any downhill background at all. I was kind of advancing pretty quickly, I felt. And then I met my husband like a couple months later, and we started dating. And that's when I really like started learning a lot, because he immediately was like, your body positioning is completely wrong on the bike. And he just kind of like broke it down, and we worked on just like the little skills, which you don't really think about as much. Nowadays in cross country, you definitely do. But back when I was racing it, we didn't really have like features and drops and jumps like that we'd have to hit in the course. So I just never knew how to do it. So I think that was when I kind of realized I could do it, because I started doing the local to Enduro races, and I had the fitness. So from just being like able to be that kind of athlete where you know how to train in the background in that discipline, so I could get the fitness. It was never a problem. It was the downhill that I struggled with. So then I started like getting better, and then I won my first series in the local race series. And then I moved up to like more, I guess, national stuff in Colorado, the big mountain enduros. And then I started doing good there. And I was like, oh my gosh, I could actually I could quit my job and like be a racer. So that was cool when I finally realized that. It was like 2 years ago I realized it.
Okay, so then you decided, gonna quit my job and I'm gonna race full time?
Yeah, so that was actually 3 years ago. I walked into my boss's office, Andy, and I said, "Hey, I'm gonna quit." And he's like, "Wait, what?" And I said, "Yeah, like I got a job at this bar down the street, and I'm working nights, and it's really good money, and I can train during the day, and yeah, I'm gonna try for it." And he was like so stoked for me. You could tell like they didn't want to lose an employee, but they're all mountain bikers and they get it. So they were like, "Dude, that's so cool. Good luck." And I was really nervous, but I had the support of Kyle, so that made me feel better. And, you know, I was still working for 1 year. And then I got the call from my boss at GT. I race for GT bicycles, and Steve Spencer calls me and he goes, "Hey, so we want you to be on the factory race team." I was just like, what? It was the coolest call I've gotten, probably in one of the calls in my life.
Yeah, and you've been racing pro ever since. Maybe quickly, for people that are not too familiar with enduro mountain biking, can you quickly explain how these races go about?
Oh yeah, no problem. It's actually part of the difficulty of racing enduro, because nobody ever knows what it is exactly. So enduro mountain bike racing is consisted of timed downhill segments that are combined, and the lowest timed downhill segment throughout the race wins. So you have, let's say, 5 to 7 downhill segments throughout the day, and whoever has the lowest wins. But you also are responsible for getting to each downhill segment. So you're not like at a bike park on a chairlift throughout the whole day. You have to climb up the climbs to make it to the stage. And so sometimes you're climbing, 1,500, 1,700 meters in one day, or even more. I think we had one this year that was like 2,600 meters of climbing in one day throughout the race. And so you not only have to be extremely talented on the downhill sections to make up the time to win the race, but you also have to be fit, because you're responsible to getting to every single stage, and you have a time cutoff. So you're not timed on the climbs per se, like in a cross country or endurance race where every single minute matters or second matters. You're timed on saying like you are leaving the start house at 9:32, but you only have until 10:45 to make it to stage 1. So it's not like you're just on a nice Sunday picnic ride, to get to the top. Like, you really are pushing it. And then, so your body gets fatigued, that's for sure. And recovery and all that, nutrition and everything is really important. So, but that's enduro racing.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, that's pretty clear. Now, the fact that you raced these cross-country endurance races growing up, do you think that plays a vital role in your career now?
I think so. I think that the disciplined mindset really helps because with any professional athlete, you have to be pretty disciplined in your training and everything like that because you're not like on a team a lot of the time, so you're not held accountable. You're held accountable by your own standards, you know? So I think growing up racing really helped me with that because I know that this is what I got to do. And if I don't do that when I get to race day, I'm not going to have what I need to succeed. So yeah, I would say it helps.
Okay, yeah, and it definitely helps to be married to Kyle Strait as well. He's one of the most famous downhill riders ever, right?
Yeah, it does. He's an amazing coach. A lot of those guys are in free riding have the most skill that you've ever seen, and they can hit anything. But I would argue that a lot of them don't really know how to coach because they're just so used to doing it. So to break it down and explain like how to hit a jump, how to hit a drop, how to go really fast through a technical section, I don't think it's that easy. And so I'm lucky because Kyle is an amazing coach. And oddly enough, he is very, very, very patient. So he never gets upset. Only when I do something like if I'm not 100% committed. I think that's the biggest piece of advice he's given me is like always commit 100% or don't do it at all because that's when you could really get hurt, you know? And that's the only time I've ever seen him get frustrated when I did something like not 100% committed to try. And but yeah, he's great. And I would say in the last 5 years of being with him, I have progressed so much in my own riding, and even my father because he comes riding with us quite often. And I've just seen my dad even like advance a lot through some of Kyle's coaching, which is cool.
Yeah, that must make him the perfect son-in-law then. What does a typical training week look like for you? Is it just riding, or do you spend some time in the gym or other stuff?
Oh no, I do 3 days of gym. So the gym is pretty important. I'm known as like a smaller racer because I'm not very big in stature, which is fine because I think it's beneficial for the climbing. But I struggled at first. The first EWS I did, which stands for Enduro World Series, which is the toughest enduro races out there. I really felt it in the arms, so I bulked up, I would say, this winter. I tried to put some more weight on in muscle, and yeah, it's so important. So I'd say an average training week is on the weekends you typically do your longer rides, or you'll substitute, say, on Sunday, a big day of just like downhill shuttles to get laps over and over and over and over again until your body is really tired, like upper body, from all the downhill runs. And then Monday is always a rest day. And then Tuesday typically is a mild day as well. And then we have 2 days of intervals, another rest day, and then back to a big ride again, and then more downhill.
Okay, that's pretty clear. How important is nutrition in training and racing?
Nutrition is so important because our body is constantly having to recover, especially during the racing, because we don't have time in between practice and race day. So it's so important that we're eating properly, we're having enough electrolytes, we're having proper recovery. I ride for Rhino Power Nutrition. They're a company out of California down here, which was started by two guys, Ryan McCarthy and Ryan Hughes. And Ryan Hughes is an ex-motocross, supercross racer, and he's very much about non-GMO and organic products and stuff like that. So one of my favorite things that they make is their recovery pills, which is pretty much just amino acids, and those are amazing. Like when you take them, your body just feels so much better the next day. So nutrition and just having an overall well-balanced diet, like an altitude, beets. Like if you can eat beets, have some type of beet supplement, something with beetroot in it, I swear, I don't know if it's a placebo effect or not with me, but I can feel the difference in my breathing, in the way I recover at altitude. Same with eating sweet potatoes. I don't know if I'm sure they have them over there, but they're like amazing. If you could eat that and beets at altitude, I swear you're going to feel great.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I know there's a lot of research being done about the positive effects of beetroot. I haven't heard it yet about sweet potato, but yeah, it might be out there as well. Can you tell us a bit about the current state of the sport? I mean, you obviously have a couple of pro riders, but are there a lot of amateurs involved there as well?
I would say that in those races, there's a lot of amateurs. They do a cap at 500 racers per race because of the nature of the race. Like, it's very time consuming, and if you had more than 500 racers, I don't know how they would be able to do all the timing because it's such a big day. Enduro is still small. I mean, it's not recognized by UCI yet. It's still a newer sport, but in the sales of mountain bike sales, one would argue that type of bike, the trail bike, is the most sold mountain bike. So, which is why so many companies have put a lot of money into these factory race teams for enduro, because the amateurs are the ones buying those bikes. The general consumers are buying those style bikes. So, yeah, but at the races, I think it's a cool scene. It's like, it's obviously a very exhausting day, and it's hard, but at the end of the day, like, we all still really like each other, which I think is cool because there's a lot of different styles of racing where it's so competitive and you're so pinned against one another that at the end of the race you may not like the person you're standing next to because of the competition is so high. But in enduro, we're out there for like 6 to 8 hours with the same people at every race, and sometimes you have to rely on each other to help get through the race, either mechanical or maybe you're bonking and you need some water, and you just see a lot of camaraderie happen out there because of that situation. Because if you have a mechanical, you're not allowed to seek outside assistance, so you're not allowed to go see your mechanic, or you're not allowed to go see some spectator that might have the tool, but you're allowed to talk to your fellow racers and seek a tool or help that way. So at the last race, my teammate, Martin Mays, gave his one mountain bike tube, to his fellow competitor to make sure he got through the race. And that was like, that's something that's so cool about enduro. You see that a lot.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. Do you want the scene to stay more or less like it is now, or do you want to see like a couple of big brands coming in and bringing in some extra money and upping up the prize money and make everything a bit more professional?
It's hard because I struggle with this one because a lot of times I feel that when something like this is sold to, say, the big UCI entity, and then they take it on, and they have all their funding, and they could have anti-doping agencies come in because they don't have that in enduro right now, and make it like a really big deal. Sometimes you see the simplicity of everything go away, and then it becomes this big political monster. And I don't really want to see that ever happen, because right now it's like ran by Chris Ball, who used to work at UCI actually, and then he left because he wanted to start his own thing. And you could see how much passion that he has for it. And Chris is so cool because when we think about race venues, every single time we almost go to a different venue. And we're never like racing the same place every single year, which is cool because as an athlete, you're getting to see so much of the world, And a lot of times when a big political company or organization takes over, they end up just they don't have all the resources and all the time to put in as Chris has. And so it ends up not being as good, or the passion isn't there anymore. And I would hate to see that happen. But at the same time, I don't want it to ever like reach a plateau and then just fall off, And it would be nice to see some of those bigger outside sponsors come in and really pick it up and support it and stuff like that. So I don't know, it's a hard one.
Okay, so maybe stay away from UCI, but try to get the Red Bulls and stuff like that on board. Would that be cool?
Yeah, I think that would be cool. Yeah. I mean, no offense to UCI. I think that they do some really good things, but I feel that sometimes they miss the mark. Like, you see, I think like World Cup downhill, for example, isn't good. It's a World Cup downhill series, and they don't really go all over the world. You know, it's pretty much a European Cup if you look at where all the races are. And I just think that that's one thing that I really respect about Chris Ball is that he really does a World Series enduro like race. We go either every year he switches off, so we either start in South America or we start in New Zealand, and then we go all over Europe, and then we come to the U.S. and Canada and stuff like that. So I think that's awesome, and that's how it should be.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Talking about your race plan, I think you're done now for 2017. Are you making plans for 2018 yet?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's gonna stay pretty similar, so that'll be nice. And I like what my little schedule is right now. I can pick the races I want to do, and I have the most amazing support from all my sponsors, and especially like companies like GT Bicycles and Ergon Bike and SRAM. They all are just incredibly supportive, and I couldn't be doing this without them at the end of the day. And I think I feel like I'm really lucky because I don't have a lot of pressure as some athletes have, because the way I've been able to set myself up. There's so many different styles of athletes these days. There's ones that all they want to do is win, and that's like their goal, and that's what they're driven by. And I can respect that so much. And then there's ones that they just love the lifestyle of being on their bike and spreading the love of riding to other people. And I would say that's kind of more where I fall. Like, don't get me wrong, I think winning is awesome, but I don't know if I'm the type of rider that would take all those necessary risks to win every race, because I just can't shut my brain off sometimes. Like, if there's a line that's super gnarly that would save a lot of time, sometimes I'm like, I don't really know if I want to take that line, because that's like pretty consequential if something bad happens, you know? And that's why nowadays, with the rise of all this social media stuff and more ambassador programs, I feel that it's really cool for a lot of people, because they can tell their story as an athlete in a different way than just through race results.
Yeah. I was going to touch on social media as well. I mean, I think like any of these new and upcoming sports, social media is very important. And I think, you got quite a big following on Instagram and Facebook. How important is that for you?
I mean, for me, the way I've marketed myself, I'd say it's like extremely important, because brands will look at that and be like, well, what is Rachel's reach, or how many people is she going to make an impression on, and how can we get how
many downloads can this podcast get?
Yeah, exactly. No, it's true though. And like, I think it's cool. I think that it's a way that brands can really look at like how well that athlete's reach is and stuff like that, because race results are so important, and so many athletes are recognized through that, but it's hard to really know like how many bikes are being sold just through a race result, you know? Like, if you're the top athlete in the world, of course you're going to be recognized, and of course you're going to be influencing people to get that bike and stuff like that. But if you're only winning at a local level, it's kind of hard to really figure out if that athlete is really making an impression through that brand, you know? And I feel like that's a way where you could look at social media and be like, oh, okay, well, this athlete is really getting recognized and stuff like that, which helps with marketing mentality, because at the end of the day, it's like all about numbers, you know? And that's what I think one thing that's cool about social media. I also think it's cool because it allows your personality to shine through, you know?
Yeah, it definitely changed the way that athletes market themselves, that's for sure. You've had a bit of a career in endurance racing when you were younger. Now it's all about enduro. What do you see as your biggest achievement in your career so far, and what's your biggest disappointment?
I think in my young career, I won a national championship title, which I was pretty stoked about. That was definitely my biggest achievement there, which that win allowed me to go race in New Zealand in the World Championships, and then I got to go race in Pan American Games down in Brazil. So that win really led to some cool adventures. In the enduro scene, I would say one of my biggest achievements was getting the phone call to join the factory race team. That was just so exciting for me because it had been a goal since I was young. And when it actually happened and all your dreams come true, quote unquote, I was so pumped to get that phone call. And then this year, there's a big EWS in Whistler, Canada, British Columbia. And I don't know why, but that place, the last 3 years, has been like my nemesis. I have never had a good race there, and I've gotten injured actually quite often there, and the riding is just so different than what we have down here in Southern California. And this year was the first year where when I finished and I look back on it, I really felt like I was in control and I felt awesome. I was like, yes, I finished that race. And I wasn't terrified, and that, to me, like, those little personal goals that you set for yourself and then you achieve, those are, like, huge, and that was, for me, one of the biggest ones, one of my biggest achievements of this season, to finish Whistler and to look back on it and have people come up to you and be like, dang, girl, you look good. I'm like, thank you.
Regrets?
I think I would say... This one is a weird one because 2 years ago we were in Chile, down in Corral. It was an interesting. It was the first race with the team, and the first big race, the first EWS with the factory team, and I was just like in a pretty weird mental state because the year before I had broken my leg. I broke my tibial plateau, which is right underneath your kneecap, and I ended up not finishing that race because I had crashed and hurt my wrist. But looking back on it, like, my wrist wasn't really that hurt. Like, I think I could have pushed through it and finished the race. And then I just gave up. And I was like, that's kind of a regret. I just wish I wouldn't have given up and tried harder. But mentally, I just wasn't there yet. And I used the wrist thing as an excuse, I would say, almost. Because this year, man, I've had some bad crashes and I've pushed through some pretty tough injuries. So I know, like, I could have done it, but I just wasn't there mentally. So that's a regret for me, I would say, or disappointment.
Okay. How do you define success, and how do you live up to your own definition?
Success. I think success for me is like when I finish or when I look back on it, I know that I tried my best and I know that I put 100% effort into it. So for me, that's what seems successful. Whether it's winning that race or feeling that I put everything out there on the line and I had nothing left, to me, that's my biggest success.
All right, awesome. Well, thanks for your time, Rachel. This has been very entertaining, and thanks for this intro into enduro racing. How can people get in touch with you if they want?
You guys can follow me online. My handle is Rachel Strait 1, or shoot me an email. My email's under my name on my Instagram. If you have any questions about enduro racing or getting into it or mountain bike riding in general, nutrition, I would love to answer you guys' questions. And I get excited when I hear of people riding. So I truly do. I think it's an awesome sport and something I'm really passionate about. So
yeah, cool. Well, I'll put those links for your social profiles up on the show notes page on the website. Feel free to give some love to your sponsors.
Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't be racing without the love and support of GT Factory Racing. Sombrio, Rhino Power, Ergon, Oakley, Schwalbe tires, stands, no tubes, wheels, and what am I forgetting? Oh, Bell bike helmets. They definitely keep my head really safe, which is super important out there. So yeah, they really make it possible, and I wouldn't be here without them.
Cool.
So.
Anything else you want to plug?
Thanks, Mom and Dad.
Yeah, that's a good one. final question. You walk out of the apartment and you find a lottery ticket that ends up winning $10 million. What do you do?
Ooh, I scream? No. I would go I don't know what I would do. I'm pretty happy with everything I have right now. Maybe I'd buy my mom a new car because her car's kind of crapping out on her.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty sweet car.
Yeah. I'd also like to go to Bora Bora. I've never been there, so maybe buy a plane ticket.
Yeah, sounds like a plan. Yeah, you can leave your bike at home. I don't think there's a lot of riding there.
No, I don't really. When you have a long season and you're like, I don't really even want to ride right now, or I don't want to run right now. That's how I feel at this moment. So I'm good with that. I'm good with just sitting on the beach right now.
Yeah, sounds like a plan. All right, thanks for your time, Rachel. It's been a pleasure.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Hi, Junkie. Thanks for listening to this episode with Rachel Strait. Now, I have to admit that this whole Enduro scene is completely new to me, but if you guys are okay with it, I'd love to have a couple of other riders on the show, so feel free to send me any suggestions you may have. You can send an email to peter@junkiepodcast.com, or you can just go to the website and use the contact form at the bottom. Alright, thanks again for listening, and I hope you'll join me next time. Cheers.